here's a nice surprise. It turns out that the person sometime in history put on a dark shellac, like a staining, thick staining. And it's pretty indicative of the 50s and 60s, when people didn't really, they were so overwhelmed like with new modern technology and materials that they didn't appreciate wood and stuff anymore. And I see it on a lot of antique motorcycles and antique cars and stuff where people will paint over maple or oak or ash dashes or something like that. And look what's underneath this. Now, not the roof. I still haven't figured out if it's floored or scored, the roof. I'm not too keen on taking the roof off. But on the back, this is the original finish of the boat. And I've left some dark spots just to keep the age, and I was very cautious because I don't think these are boards. I think these are actually scored, so I could only sand down as much as I could still see the lines, and it took me about 3 hours to do, 2 hours to do this one square here carefully with sandpaper. I might still work on it down here a bit, but just in a feathering manner. Then I got the side decks done because I had some bubbling of varnish that I wanted to get rid of. And I started sanding those down. And that turned out quite well. So originally it would have had this boarded walkway area, which has now been exposed, and I can coat over it. I've redone the plumbing. I put in, I took out actually the whistle valve for now because I had a leak, and I re-hosed all of the valve system for the engine, so I have no leaks under the hood now, and those were causing steam to come up through the side here and bubble up the varnish. So after I'd solved that problem, I knew I wouldn't have a problem with my varnish coming off, so I started sanding that. Then I got to the front deck, and it turns out that the front deck as well is planked wood. Now it might be scored, but I'm not sure. I can't really tell from the surface finish of it whether or not they're real grooves or they're scored. But I didn't sand through any of them, so that tells me that they're really well done, and probably it's looking more and more like this is an actual Bassett Lowke boat, I think, because of the materials used. And there's some dust there in the window area and the mirrors. And the age of the mirrors have lost a lot of their mirror, so I've done this. I've got the accuracy of these two end pieces here with lines scored there. Then the detail of the side. And I'm just staining it now lightly with the mahogany stain. And then I'm going to basically let that dry for the next 3 hours. I'm going to put a heat source on it and help that dry. And then I'm going to lacquer it and let that dry overnight, and we'll go for our maiden voyage tomorrow morning. With fixing the steam input, I also increased the pressure, so now we're running at around 30 psi constant pressure at idle. So that's really, really good, and we will have a little bit of power to do some speed runs with the boat. Anyways, back to work, guys. To restore or not to restore, that is the question. I think that this patina needed to come off because what the result was much improved appearance of the boat. And this I will explain later. This is a very important feature for tomorrow's boat ride. Try to guess what that is. It sits at the waterline.